Welcome into Behind the Spotlight podcast, where your story matters. I'm Danielle J. Martin, your host, and I'm on a mission to empower and educate you towards your greatness. On this podcast, you'll learn ways to turn your thoughts into action. Plus, you'll also learn from individuals who will share personal experiences and actionable steps on how to create the life you desire. Now, let's dive into today's episode. All right, we're going to get started. Well, ladies, welcome to the show. I'm sitting here with Amanda Witson and Kelsey Stringer with Epic Integrative Wellness, the co-founders. Ladies, how are you feeling today?
Good. Feeling really good. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we appreciate you having us.
I'm super excited to get into today's show because you guys have something special. When I was sitting down with you, getting to know your business, the first thing I said was, wow, I've never found two passionate women that have, have a medical background, have been in this industry for multiple years and decided to do something about it, fill in that gap, and bring it to Topeka. So let's give everyone the foundation of who you are, what you do, and why you do it. So Kelsey, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, both of us being nurse practitioners, I think it's unique that we both have spent a lot of time in functional medicine. It's not something that was as common maybe 5 to 8 years ago when Amanda got started as well. And we both really fell in love with the process of what it means to just be more well, be healthier, find ways to fight chronic disease before it happens. And these type of services, we just saw a need in Topeka. I was born and raised here, and I was doing this more in the Manhattan area, she in Kansas City, and we just, said, hey, I think it's time, and Topeka's ready for this.
Yeah. And Amanda, you have a background being a nurse as well. Give me a little bit of background in that. And then how did you and Kelsey meet?
Yeah. So my background as a nurse is in ICU or intensive care. So a lot of obviously issues, not so much trauma. I never worked in like a trauma center, but a lot of end stage of chronic diseases, different pulmonology issues, a lot of ventilators, a lot of drips, so a lot of tragic things and sad things that possibly could have been prevented had people had an understanding or awareness of their health many years ago in that education component. And then after doing that for many years, I decided that I wanted to do something a little different. And so I started kind of investigating and decided to go back to school to become a nurse practitioner. And during that, I kind of really fell in love with root causes of illness, not just like, why do people become sick, but what's really underlying there. And so that's sort of what drove me to investigate functional medicine, which at the basis is like root cause, what's the root cause of things, not just masking that or band-aiding it with medications.
Right.
And then Kelsey and I have known of each other for many years. She actually graduated high school with my sister. And so knew of her then. And then probably, I think, 2018-ish, 2017, she contacted me about ways to kind of get in it, how, what training and how to get involved in functional medicine.
Yeah.
And funny, I had recently left a job in doing hormone replacement and functional medicine, and I knew that they had a clinic opening where Kelsey was living at the time. And so I gave them her number and their number, and the rest is kind of history.
And then, Kelsey, I think you told me, too, that you guys started the practice or have been working in Kansas City for a while and then said, Topeka needs an area and needs a space like this. Why did you guys decide to choose Topeka?
I think we just saw a need for it. There's really not comparable, I think, all-encompassing services that we offer. To date, when we opened our doors January 1st, and, I was born and raised here. My family is here, and I knew I wanted to come back here and really bring something to Topeka community. It's very special to me, and it always will be. So I knew that it was the spot that I wanted to be, and Amanda was kind enough to understand that and see my vision for that and be willing to leave her practice in Kansas City to help me do it.
Yeah. And then, Amanda, kind of break it down a little bit, kind of take me through what would an onboarding process look like? I know when we first met, you guys were telling me all of these different things, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't know, this is like, it's amazing, first of all, because you guys are doing something that hasn't been really created or done here. It's happening all over the world, but you see the gap. And especially speaking with women about their hormones, a topic that many of us don't know how to even talk about or handle. And so let's first break it down.
Yeah.
And let's go through this like onboarding process.
Yeah, so everything starts with a consultation because it can be kind of overwhelming and daunting. Even, we notice that people who schedule online, sometimes they're just not really quite sure which route to go, but we do try to address everything and everyone's concerns through the consultation process. So that's a good 30 minutes that we sit down with somebody and we look at the past, past medical history, also talk about future, what are their future goals, and what we call our magic wand questions, which are, if they had a magic wand and could wave it, and there were 3 main things that we can help them, within our power, address, what would those be? And so that's their goal. And then we try to match their goal with what we're seeing in lab work and try to come up with a treatment plan. This kind of medicine is very, it's very patient-centric. Yeah. So it's really they're driving the bus. We're helping to steer a little bit, but it's really all about them and their symptoms. So an onboarding would look like a consultation, a good solid 30 minutes, talking about concerns, the past medical history, the magic wand questions, and then determining where to go from there as far as lab work. And then based on that, then that kind of sets the tone for whether they're going to, proceed with a hormonal options, or whether we're going to make supplementation recommendations or peptides or, IV infusions just to kind of enhance their health. So it kind of depends, but that's sort of the basis.
Yeah. Kelsey, kind of take me to an experience when you guys have a client come in and they don't know really what to expect or how to talk about this, because I love how you guys address multiple things, not just hormones, but IV infusions. It's like a thing. It's becoming a topic of conversation of like, this is what you need for your body, but some of us don't know what we need. So how do you like help someone navigate that?
I think it's just part of a really good consultation and getting to know somebody. And I think that's what's different about this type of healthcare is we really have time to get to know somebody and develop a relationship with them and really understand what they're looking for. And if they're not quite sure what they're looking for, we get to know them and their symptoms and their medical history. And we present a lot of different options. And then they usually can give us a good idea of what they see wanting down the road. And we can kind of drive that, movement, that relationship toward that direction.
Yeah. And then right now, like, what are you guys seeing mainly with your clients? What's like the number one thing that, and I know everyone's different, but what is like maybe like the most common thing that you're getting with majority of your clients? Like, what are you speaking to them about?
I would say the overarching symptoms that drive people in are one of 3 things, and that's fatigue or low energy levels, weight, usually weight gain, and then sleep disruption. Whether it's insomnia or waking up at night or not feeling rested after quote unquote a full night's sleep. So those are the primary symptoms that we see, and of course each person is addressed a little bit differently depending, but that's a lot of what we see.
I think we've been really blessed. We were talking the other day about, hundreds of people have come through our door since January 1st, but I don't think that we've done the exact same thing with a single person, and that's what I think is really special about what we're able to do.
And what are you guys like seeing when you talk about fatigue, sleepiness? Like, what is it that we are maybe most struggling with? Like, are women stressed about something specifically? Like, is it their life? Like, let's dive into that a little bit more.
Go ahead.
A lot of it is probably hormonal changes.
Getting older, maybe?
Getting older, but not just the age, not just their biological age, but it's the underlying changes in the body that happen during that time of life, right?
Yeah.
And I'm talking anywhere from 35 on up to 60. Those are probably our primary age groups. And so you can imagine the array of hormonal issues that we see.
Yeah.
So that root causes is a lot of hormonal imbalances, but also sometimes low iron level. Stress really increases inflammation, and it doesn't help matters at all. So that definitely in women and stress, and we women are constantly transitioning, right? Like puberty is a transition, and then there's postpartum's a transition, and then perimenopause is a transition, and there's all kinds of other transitioning that's happening behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of what we see.
Yeah. And I think also just being able to kind of open the conversation up about things that maybe we didn't necessarily think about years ago, but it's coming more to the forefront now, like clean water, clean air in our homes, just certain things about the foods that we eat, ultra-processed foods versus real whole foods. And I think when you're able to develop a relationship with somebody and see them on a consistent basis, you can work those things into the conversation and make real change there. It's hard to do that when you only have a couple minutes with them. So I think over time we can talk more about those things, and we do see that being something that's maybe not necessarily thought about prior to.
Yeah. So you guys are like not just focusing on the medicine piece, but building that relationship, ensuring that like this is a journey, this is a process. And when you talk about clean water and food, I feel like you're in my business right now, because I'm like, okay, tell me, what water do you recommend like to your clients? Because I've been going back and forth with my partner about this, and I'm like, there is a difference within the water.
So yeah, there's the ewg.org. You can go to that website and you can put in your zip code, and you're able to get a printout or a PDF version of what's actually in your water in your zip code. And I would encourage everybody to do that and take a look. It's a little bit scary, I guess, if I'm being honest, but it also knowledge is power in a sense. And when you know better, you can do better.
Definitely.
So, if we're getting really into the weeds here, I have a pretty hefty water filter in my home that I installed. It's called Live Pristine. I mean, if you want to look that up, there's plenty of good solid ones that you can do. It's, if you're going to be out and about, Mountain Valley in a glass bottle, their green glass bottles would be a great choice. Avoiding microplastics as best you can. We do some boxed water options in our office, and people kind of look at us funny when we hand them boxed water, but we're like, oh, we're just avoiding microplastics and trying to not give our clients that. And they're like, oh, okay. And that's another great segue into a conversation about that. 'Cause
let's educate you on
I think a lot of people, it's not judgment by any means. It's really just the more we know and the more we can teach each other, the better we do. And those little things can open up conversations about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it answers probably a lot of questions. Like you mentioned, like the changes that happen in our body, and like we just don't know, especially like when you're just maneuvering through life every day and you're like, well, I'm a little gassy today, I guess it's fine. But it's like, there's a reason for that. There's like certain foods, especially like as I get older, I'm like, oh, I can't eat that anymore. And I'm sure, like, do you guys go through that process where you're like, I can't eat the same things I used to eat when I was younger?
Yeah, there's a lot of changes. Even like, of course, we're going to look at it through that functional medicine lens and talk about like the microbiome, which is that planet of like good gut bugs that live in your intestines, and those do rule a lot of things. And so that's one of our favorite functional medicine tests to do is like looking at the microbiome. So that's a really great snapshot to see, like, do you have good bacteria? Do you have an overgrowth of bad? Do you have inflammation? And we can tell when somebody's eating foods that literally their immune system is responding to by some markers on that lab. So it really helps us address it. So I mean, definitely. And hormonal changes can drive changes in the microbiome as well. So it is all connected. And that's kind of the biggest piece. Yeah. I'm
like over here fascinated. Like,
I know.
Okay, maybe I need to get a test. Yeah. Because I mean, I just also love how informative that you guys are being about this. Because again, as women, we are just known, let me just go to the doctor. Let me just get my yearly routine with my doctor. But to like go to a different type of physician like you guys to talk about something even deeper, like your hormones and the changes in your body, are completely necessary. And so when you guys are meeting with your clients, what are you hoping that they take away when they leave you?
I think I hope that they take away that they've felt heard and they feel comfortable. A lot of the subjects that we talk about aren't necessarily the most comfortable in the world, and a lot of people have never wanted to share the type of questions that maybe we would ask just typically. So I hope they feel like they can, and that they're going to be in a relationship with us in a sense, and go on a journey together, and they're going to be heard, and we're going to spend time with them. And it's not going to be something where we're like, okay, well, we'll just see you next year. We're going to know them, and they're going to know us, and we're going to be accountable to each other.
Yeah.
We hope that they feel informed and empowered, because when women are given good information, they can make good decisions, regardless of what they choose to do or put in their body or on their body.
Right.
But they can at least be empowered with information.
Yeah. Let's get into the weight loss programs that you guys offer at your business, and just kind of walk me through those and what makes them so unique.
I think we do it a little bit different in the sense that we're really gearing our programs toward the perimenopausal, menopausal woman who has dealt with hormonal imbalance for many years. And when you're dealing with that or the loss of your hormones through menopause, it's very, very difficult to lose weight, even when you're doing all of the right things or you're changing nothing about very, very good habits.
Yeah.
So we're able to plug in some medical weight loss tools that can really be helpful in the short term, help get them some results, the results that they deserve for all the work they're putting into it, and then really dial in great habits and move on with, long-term lifestyle choices that are really beneficial along with hormone balance that we're able to offer. I mean, if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Yeah, we use a variety of, we call them tools. We have a lot of tools in the toolbox, and sometimes people just need a tool to kind of help get them over the hump while we're working on sort of those root causes of what got them there.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes they are, and we hear this every day, and we totally empathize and agree with, I'm doing all the right things. I'm prioritizing my sleep. I'm getting my protein. I'm working out. I'm getting my 10,000 steps, but nothing is changing. Yeah.
And oftentimes you see it's kind of the same type of pattern, especially for women. I don't want to discount men too. We love to take care of men as well. But women just, the weight tends to come, in the midsection and, around the bra strap areas. And it's very characteristic of, hormonal weight gain. And it's very, very difficult to get rid of.
Yeah. Yeah. I was mentioning to you guys that, some of the things you're speaking about I've never experienced before. And it's just like the honesty and transparency of like, not saying I'm trying to throw myself in the same pool as like everyone else, but it's just the reality that it's like, I was raised to believe that you don't go to the doctor unless something's wrong with you. And so it's like, I don't know if you guys, work with many African American women, but like we are literally like, don't go to the doctor unless you're pregnant, unless you're dying. Right. And so like, can you just speak to the women that look like me to say, you know what, you probably should stop thinking that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for women and all women, we're almost trained to not show weakness or not ask for help. And, to speak to your experience, I think we've had African-American women that have shared similar thoughts and often come in with friends. Like the friends had kind of forced them to come in after maybe years of symptoms and struggling. And I'm thinking of a couple people in particular. So I think it's what you're saying is very valid and probably very true to a lot of people's experience. We don't like to ask for help in general as women, and we certainly don't like to show weakness in a lot of ways. And I think that asking for help is perceived as weakness as we grew up, and maybe we're told that. And I don't know if that was similar to your family, but I think that's a really interesting thought.
And women, even in like the medical jargon, have been trained, like, you suffer with migraines, you suffer with PMS symptoms, that's just part of it. Why do we need to suffer? But that's how it's talked about, right? That's kind of how it's said. So there's really not a need to suffer, but it's almost like, it's like, oh, well, yeah, I have migraines, it's part of my life, or I have terrible PMS symptoms, I just deal with it,
I hope we can change the narrative for women, for men, for everyone, that, healthcare is something that you want to seek out. Wellness is something you want to seek out. Of course, there's a need for sick care and chronic disease management. That's absolutely true. But I think we hope everyone sees the need to seek out healthcare and only, of course, use the doctor in a sense of chronic disease management when you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
But to prioritize wellness.
Yeah. And also thinking about, you talked about migraines and PMS symptoms and like just waiting for something to really be fully wrong with you. And you just mentioned too, like, working through the pain, like we have to be tough. Like when would you say is the right time that someone just walks in and speak with you guys? Like when is the right time? Do they have to wait until they feel that symptom, or it's like, just come talk to us today?
We probably say this, 5 times a week, that especially this is more true for males, not as true for females, but we wish that everybody at age 21 or 25, somewhere in that age frame where you feel your best, right?
Yeah.
You can get away with a little less sleep. You can get away with maybe eating things you're not supposed to, and you kind of bounce back. That would be the ideal time to get good baseline labs, right? When things are just working and functioning and you don't really have to think about them.
Yeah.
That's not really what happens. Usually people are coming in with symptoms, but baselines are great too. We do have people who just kind of, hey, I just kind of want to know where I'm at.
Right.
And we are so supportive of that, because that's a great tool too. It's like, hey, you feel great now, we are happy. That's amazing. And maybe there's little tweaks you can do to prevent things in the future, but really if you don't know where you're starting from, it's hard to go from there. So.
Yeah, and when we say baseline labs, it really goes beyond just maybe the one or two that are more commonly done, at a yearly physical. We're looking at a much deeper look at thyroid, at a full iron panel, looking at all the sex hormones, vitamin levels, of course, some of the basics that you would get, at a yearly physical, but looking a lot farther into maybe what could be going on in your body and giving you that information to carry with you, as things may change.
Yeah. And I want to dive into a little bit more about who you guys are individually, because it's interesting how I've seen this process happen with many people in the medical field. They leave, let's say, working at a hospital, working at a big organization with a medical background. And with both of you being nurse practitioners, you decided to step out, create something on your own. Even Kelsey, you have a background in sports. And I just want to know, where did that passion come from to where you said, you know what, we have to do something about this. Let's go create our own.
Very good question. I think I grew up, my dad was a college basketball coach. I played college volleyball, and I think competition and drive was really always part of the equation for me. But I also learned a lot of valuable lessons through athletics, and just, I think, the continued motivation to ask yourself, what's your contribution? What difference are you making? And, my time was up for volleyball. I had to do something different. I can't be sitting back thinking about that forever. So, I really got into healthcare and became passionate about functional medicine, and really the changes that it made in my own home, especially with my husband. And I wanted to make an impact. And I knew that I was going to have to do that different than what the conventional system was that I had kind of grown and been trained in. So I went to look elsewhere for training, learned a lot about it, and really went all the way in because of the benefits that I saw in my own home. And, the rest is kind of history.
Yeah. And what about you?
Yeah, so I kind of come from it a little bit differently. I started out my career as a social worker, believe it or not. I have a bachelor's in social work.
That's
and
right.
So my whole theme has been caring for people, right? I've always wanted to take care of people and help people. So social work, I didn't, that's a tough field, for one. And I wanted to do something a little bit more hands-on, so that's when I went back to nursing school, and then wanted to keep kind of continuing and climbing and continuing to take care of people. And so how I kind of ended up here is I wanted to take care of people in a certain way, you know, really get to know them. And so that's kind of what we're able to do, is we're able to care for people on our own terms, which is spend a lot of time with them and get to know them. And so it's just been a great way of being able to do that and to really see results. There's nothing more, rewarding than actually making people better, which is not always the case on the other side.
Yeah. And what I love about this platform of the podcast is that focusing on people beyond their title, right? And so I always say that, your story matters, and the story that you're writing today is a part of the entire book, right? And so what would you say that the story you're currently writing?
I hope it's the very beginning of really just being a voice for women and men, and understanding what their options are when they're seeking out healthcare, and what's maybe things that they can prioritize and affect change in their own life to make it better. Because when you feel good everybody else around you in your inner circle elevates along with you.
For sure.
And the kind of change that you can affect when you're treating one person in front of you is really limitless because of all the people that they're going to touch.
Yeah.
And I hope it's one of like education and support, because again, there's so much knowledge out there, but it's really hard to know what's right for you. So being able to have more of a personalized approach to that, and kind of understand, where that's going to lead you. So
I love that. And so you mentioned earlier that you guys have been open since January, so less than a year, right? So are you guys already thinking 2-3 years later, what does that future goal look like?
I mean, we have a lot of big plans. We always have. We know that we need to grow as we can allow and handle, and what our clients drive that growth as well. But we have a lot of big plans for what we can do here in the community and beyond, and from an education standpoint, from an access to functional and healthcare services standpoint. I think we've got a lot, but we know that we're going to move with what allows us from a what we can handle standpoint.
Yeah. And I understand that, but I think there's power in a duo effect, right? And so also one of the things I love to talk about is business as well. And so like from a business perspective, can you please just speak on the benefit of having a partner with you? Amanda's like, oh my God, big eye roll.
Yeah, well, because this would not be made possible without Kelsey. I think the benefit of a partnership, especially one in which you implicitly trust the other, share the same vision and goals, it's everything. I have strengths that she doesn't, and vice versa, and that's what makes that kind of dream work. Is that we both kind of enhance each other's, I don't want to call it weaknesses, because I wouldn't say that we have weaknesses, but
we all do.
We enhance, where maybe one or the other lacks.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'd like to say that we had that all planned out. We knew it was going to go this great. But, we weren't really friends before. We were really just acquaintances. And I think really we've grown to have a really solid friendship through this. And
wow.
You're there in front of each other every day, having to solve every problem that comes at you, and you develop a good bond and really good communication skills. And and like she said, I just want to reiterate, she's brings so much to the table that I can't, and that's the beauty of a partnership.
Yeah. And so when you talked about being acquaintances, like how long was that before you said, let's be business partners?
Well, I've known Amanda since about 2018, and really she helped get me into the field. And I continued to touch base with her every so often, maybe refer some patients her way here and there. But when I knew that I wanted to bring this to Topeka, she was the first person that came to my head. And, if there's one thing I can do well that I've learned from my father, it's I know how to recruit talent. And so I asked her to go to dinner, and I said, hey, where are you at with everything? She'd spent many, many years in the field, and it just seemed like a good time to lay it out there. And she responded like, well, yeah, like, why not us? And, that's kind of been our motto, why not us? We can do this.
Let's go.
And the rest is where we're at.
Wow. Okay. So, Amanda, speak to the women out there that are maybe hesitant on wanting to build a business by themselves, but just the benefit of what that would look like creating it with a partner.
Yeah, I do think you need to put in place like a team, and you need to be in a good like headspace. There's no question it's hard, right? There's going to be ups and downs every day. And so you just have to remind yourself about why you're doing it and your mission. And I do think, I like I said, I honestly could not imagine doing this by myself. I know that I commend the women and people that do, but I do think a team approach, especially a duo approach, is the best approach. Somebody to sort of share all of those roller coasters of emotions with, the goods, the bads. So I think that's imperative. And I wouldn't have done it another way. And I also think I would share with people, like, if you have a passion and a dream and a plan and a partner, you should go for it.
That's so good. So remind me, do you guys have a location in Kansas City? Not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
You never know. You never know.
Never say never.
Never say never.
Never say never.
Okay, as we come to a close, any last words that you guys would like to say? Lasting impression that you want the community to know about Epic Integrative Wellness?
Well, first, just thank you and the voice that you bring to women in business. And,
Thanks.
That voice, I think that's so important. And we really appreciate you for what you do. And I hope the community just knows that we are genuinely wanting to build relationships with people in the community, make them happier, healthier, more driven to become, not even, I don't know if you ever can reach your fullest potential, maybe just be driven to try to find that place where you're reaching your fullest potential every day.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. Amanda,
Yeah.
way to top that.
I know. Well, thank you. We appreciate this opportunity
Yeah.
very much. It's been a great and amazing experience.
Yeah.
And I think as far as community goes, we want to continue to educate and support, just women and men and the community in general. We try to stay up to date on the latest research, everything from hormones to anti-aging. I mean, to gut health. I mean, this field is just really, it's coming at everybody fast. And so we are trying to stay up to date with that and pass our knowledge on to other people to hopefully help them.
Well, I will say I enjoy your social media constantly because you're always posting on there. So I don't know who's posting. She's like, Kelsey's
We all know-
posting.
That's
When we talk about, this might be the one thing that Amanda doesn't do, and it's social media.
Yeah.
She
It's
can
like,
do just
no,
about everything else.
Yeah, no, but it's beautiful. And I would say that, especially in a time when it's unpredictable, if you need someone to talk about clean water or food, please call Epic Integrative Wellness because they will get you right. But if you are located in Topeka, you will find their location on 29th Street. It is right across Hy-Vee. You cannot miss it. In the meantime, we're going to put all of their information in the description below. And in the meantime, thank you, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. If you found value in this episode, I'd love to hear your thoughts on your key takeaways. Take a moment, download this episode, and share your feedback by leaving a review for this episode. Better yet, snap a screenshot and share it on your social media. Now, don't forget to tag me so I can personally connect with you. Your insights might just be what someone else needs. Now, let's make an impact together.